Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a truth that might shake your beliefs. Luck is not what changes lives. Discipline is. Too many people wait for that lucky break, that perfect timing, that miracle moment when everything just clicks. But that moment never comes for those who wait. It comes for those who create it. Discipline is what turns your vision into victory, your pain into power, your dream into destiny. You don't need to cross your fingers. You need to roll up your sleeves. In this world, not everyone starts at the same line. Some are born into privilege, others into struggle. But discipline is the great equalizer. It levels the playing field. It's not about who got the best hand. It's about who plays their hand best. When you show up every day, when you stay consistent, when you refuse to quit, discipline gives you the edge that luck never will. The people you admire didn't just get lucky. They worked relentlessly until success had no choice but to show up. Discipline is not about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right things again and again. Some people sprint for a week and burn out for a year. Others take steady steps every day and win the marathon of life. The power is in your routine. It's in waking up early when you don't feel like it, showing up when no one's watching, and giving your best when there's no applause. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds mastery. Every disciplined person has faced pain, mental, emotional, and physical. But here's the secret: discipline turns that pain into progress. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you train your mind to grow stronger than your excuses. You learn that pain is not punishment, it's preparation. The more disciplined you become, the less control your fears have over you. Pain becomes your teacher, not your jailer. Confidence doesn't come from luck. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. When you tell yourself you'll do something and actually do it, your mind learns to trust you. Discipline is self-respect in action. The person who follows through, no matter how small the task, begins to walk differently, think differently, and act differently. Confidence is not arrogance. It's certainty built through disciplined repetition. Most people think discipline is restriction. They believe it's a cage that keeps them from fun, from comfort, from freedom, but that's a lie. Discipline is the path to freedom. When you master your habits, you master your future. When you control your impulses, you control your destiny. True freedom is waking up and knowing you are in charge, not your emotions, not your distractions, not your excuses. Discipline is not inherited. It's a decision. Every single day you get to choose, do you chase comfort or do you chase greatness? Luck is passive. It happens to you. Discipline is active. It happens because of you. And the moment you decide to stop waiting and start working, life starts to move in your favor. Opportunities appear, not because of magic, because you're ready for them. Ladies and gentlemen, stop hoping for luck to find you. Build a life that doesn't need it. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're meant to become. You don't stumble into greatness. You step into it one disciplined decision at a time. So stand tall, take control, build your habits, because when you master discipline, you no longer chase luck. Luck starts chasing you. Discipline is the real equalizer because it doesn't care where you start. It only cares that you start and stay consistent. Life is not fair, and it never will be. Some people are born with resources. Others are born with nothing but struggle. Some have support. Others are surrounded by doubt. But the one thing that cuts through all differences, all backgrounds, and all limitations is discipline. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't play favorites. It rewards anyone willing to put in the work day after day when no one is watching and no one is clapping. Discipline says, I may not have what you have, but I will outwork you, outlast you, and outperform you. That mindset transforms ordinary individuals into extraordinary achievers. The truth is, luck is unpredictable. It shows up for some and never knocks on the door of others. But discipline is steady, reliable, and always within your control. It's the one force that allows a person with limited means to rise above circumstances and create a life that others only dream about. When you commit to discipline, you don't wait for doors to open, you build your own. It doesn't matter how talented someone else may be if they lack the consistency to develop that talent. The world is filled with gifted people who never fulfill their potential because they wait for the right time, the right opportunity, or the right connection. Discipline doesn't wait for the right moment. It creates it. Discipline teaches you that your actions, not your environment, determine your results. It's not what you have that defines your future. It's what you do with what you have. Every step taken in discipline compounds over time, building strength, focus, and resilience. It's what allows the person who starts from nothing to surpass those who had every advantage but lacked the drive to keep going. The power of discipline lies in its simplicity. You don't need special circumstances. You need the will to act consistently, even when it's uncomfortable. Success is not built in grand moments, but in small, disciplined actions repeated daily until they become a part of who you are. When you choose discipline, you take responsibility for your life. You stop blaming the world, your past, or your circumstances, and you start looking inward for the answer. You realize that no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you success, and no one will care about your dream more than you. That realization may sting, but it's liberating because it puts the power back in your hands. Discipline turns helplessness into control. It's the quiet, steady force that pushes you to do the things others refuse to do. It's the reason some rise while others remain stuck. It's the invisible line separating those who wish from those who achieve. The person who practices discipline understands that feelings are fleeting but results are lasting. There will be days when motivation fades, when the mind whispers excuses, and when the world seems to stand against you. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It reminds you what you're committed to. It's that inner voice saying, jet up, keep moving. You're not done yet. And each time you listen to that voice, you reinforce your identity as someone who follows through, who endures, who doesn't break when things get hard. Over time, that becomes your strength, your character, your advantage. Discipline doesn't promise perfection. It promises progress. It gives you the ability to fail, learn, adjust, and try again without giving up. It's not glamorous, it's not easy, and it's often lonely, but it works. The world doesn't reward luck, it rewards consistency, perseverance, and effort. Every great achievement in history was born not from chance, but from someone's decision to stay disciplined long after excitement wore off. When you embrace discipline, you become unstoppable because nothing external can dictate your pace. No matter where you begin, discipline can take you where you want to go. Consistency beats intensity because success is never built on one massive effort, but on the quiet repetition of small, purposeful actions over time. So many people chase quick results. They start strong, filled with energy, excitement, and passion, but when the initial fire fades, so does their commitment. They expect transformation to come overnight, not realizing that greatness is not a moment, it's a process. Intensity can ignite your journey, but consistency keeps the flame alive when motivation disappears. It's not about how fast you move, but how long you can keep moving. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is rarely talent. It's the discipline to keep showing up, even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unseen. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds mastery. Every day you do something, even a little, you strengthen your skills, sharpen your mind, and reinforce your habits. It's like pushing a heavy wheel. It doesn't move easily at first, but once it starts rolling, it gains power with every push. The same is true for success. When you show up daily, when you practice, when you commit, your effort compounds over time. What seems small today becomes unstoppable tomorrow. That's why consistency is more powerful than short bursts of intensity. Intensity burns energy, consistency builds endurance. Intensity excites the mind, consistency rewires it. The most successful people in any field aren't the ones who worked the hardest once. They're the ones who worked with focus and discipline day after day, even when it was boring, even when no one noticed. Consistency trains your brain to value progress over perfection. It teaches you to stay patient while the world chases shortcuts. It's easy to be motivated for a week. It's hard to be consistent for a year. But the results that last a lifetime come from the effort that lasts beyond emotion. When you commit to consistency, you become reliable, not just to others, but to yourself. You begin to trust your own word because you keep it. That builds confidence and power from within. Many people confuse excitement with commitment. Excitement is emotional. It fades when things get tough. Commitment is logical. It stays when excitement dies. That's where consistency thrives. You don't wake up every day feeling ready, but you still take the next step. You don't always have energy, but you still move forward. You don't always see progress, but you still believe in the process. That's the mindset that separates dreamers from doers. The person who works a little every day, even at half strength, will always surpass the one who goes all in for a week and then burns out for months. The world remembers the finishers, not the starters. Consistency is the quiet discipline of repetition, and repetition breeds excellence. Think about athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, or leaders who have reached the top. Their success wasn't born from one lucky break or one extraordinary effort. It came from hundreds of ordinary days stacked together, each one building upon the last. The gym sessions, the late nights, the early mornings, the missed parties, the sacrifices, all of it adds up. The reason most people fail isn't because they lack ability, it's because they stop too soon. They quit before their results have time to show. Consistency demands patience because growth is invisible at first. The seed takes time to sprout, but those who water it daily eventually see the fruit of their effort. Consistency also builds resilience. When you commit to daily effort, you develop the strength to endure setbacks without losing direction. Every missed goal becomes a lesson, every delay becomes a test, and every challenge becomes an opportunity to recommit. You learn to show up no matter what, and that habit becomes unshakable. You realize success doesn't belong to the smartest or the strongest. It belongs to the most consistent. While intensity comes and goes with emotion, consistency stands firm with intention. It's the steady heartbeat that keeps your dream alive long after others have given up. Discipline transforms pain into growth because it changes the way you interpret struggle. Most people run from pain. They see it as a sign to stop, as something to be feared or avoided. But discipline sees pain differently. It recognizes that pain is not punishment. It is information. It tells you where you're growing, where you're being stretched, and where you're becoming stronger. Every breakthrough in life is born through discomfort. Every time you resist the easy path and choose the difficult one, you are teaching your mind and body that you are capable of more than you thought. Pain becomes the signal that you are moving forward, not backward. It becomes fuel for transformation. When you choose discipline, you stop being controlled by emotions and start being guided by commitment. You learn to endure the sting of sacrifice because you understand that it's shaping you into someone tougher, wiser, and more resilient. Growth never happens in comfort zones. It happens in the moments you push through fatigue, doubt, and fear. That's where transformation begins, when you start seeking relief and start seeking results. Pain forces you to focus. It burns away laziness, distractions, and excuses until all that's left is your raw potential. Through discipline, pain becomes a refining fire that molds you into a stronger version of yourself. Every time you wake up early when you'd rather sleep in, every time you say no to temptation, every time you hold yourself accountable instead of giving yourself an excuse, you're turning discomfort into development. Pain stops being your enemy and becomes your greatest ally. It's what builds your endurance, your patience, and your grit. Without pain, there can be no growth because nothing changes when everything is easy. Discipline helps you understand that what hurts today will help tomorrow. The muscle that burns in the gym becomes strength. The mental fatigue of study becomes mastery. The emotional pain of rejection becomes resilience. Discipline gives that pain purpose. People who lack discipline run from pain and end up stuck in cycles of frustration and regret. They trade short-term comfort for long-term suffering. But disciplined people trade short-term pain for long-term freedom. They understand that pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. They face challenges head on because they know that each trial carries a lesson. Each obstacle builds character, and each sacrifice compounds into power. Discipline transforms the meaning of pain. It's no longer something to escape from, but something to embrace because it's a sign that growth is happening. The more disciplined you become, the more you realize that pain doesn't control you. You control how you respond to it. The transformation happens in your mindset. When you stop saying, why has this happened to me? And start saying, what is this teaching me? Everything changes. Discipline gives you the strength to stay calm in chaos, to stay focused under pressure, and to keep going when everything inside you wants to quit. Pain tests your commitment. It asks, do you really want this? And discipline answers, yes. That moment defines you. You learn that growth isn't about feeling good. It's about becoming great. You understand that the price of strength is discomfort, and you pay it willingly because you know what's on the other side. Pain also reveals truth. It strips away illusions and exposes what you're truly made of. When everything is easy, anyone can appear confident, but when things get hard, only discipline keeps you standing. It's in the struggle that you meet your true self. The disciplined mind doesn't run, it endures. It knows that every step through pain builds emotional armor and mental clarity. Pain refines focus and kills weakness. Through that process, growth becomes inevitable. Every disciplined act you take rewires your brain to view adversity, not as something to avoid, but as a necessary part of becoming unstoppable. And once you reach that understanding, pain no longer breaks you. It builds you. Discipline creates confidence because it builds trust within yourself. True confidence doesn't come from compliments, achievements, or appearances. It comes from the quiet certainty that you can rely on yourself to follow through no matter what. Every time you set a goal and honor that commitment, you strengthen the relationship you have with yourself. Most people break their own promises daily. They say they'll start tomorrow, they'll change soon, they'll be consistent next time. But when tomorrow comes, they repeat the same cycle of excuses and hesitation. Over time, that habit erodes self-belief. You stop trusting your own words because deep down, you know you won't deliver. Discipline reverses that pattern. It rebuilds self-trust one small action at a time. When you tell yourself you'll do something and you actually do it, you start believing in your own power again. Confidence is not arrogance. It's the deep knowing that you can handle what life throws at you. And that knowing doesn't appear out of luck. It's forged through repetition and responsibility. When you practice discipline, you prove to yourself that you can control your actions even when your emotions fight against you. You stop being reactive to how you feel in the moment and start being proactive about what needs to be done. That shift in behavior builds strength. Every disciplined decision reinforces the idea that you are in charge, that your choices, not your moods, define your outcomes. With each consistent act, your sense of control expands, and with control comes confidence. Discipline also teaches you to embrace discomfort instead of fearing it. Confidence doesn't grow in comfort, it grows in challenge. Every time you face something difficult and push through, you collect evidence of your own capability. You prove to yourself that fear can't stop you and fatigue can't break you. Those experiences become the foundation of real confidence, the kind that isn't shaken by setbacks or criticism. Disciplined person doesn't need external validation because their proof comes from action. They've earned their self-belief through effort, repetition, and persistence. That's why confident people walk differently, speak differently, and carry themselves with certainty. They know what they've overcome, and that knowledge radiates from within. Discipline eliminates the need for constant motivation. Motivation depends on emotion, but discipline depends on commitment. When you live by discipline, you don't wait to feel ready. You act because you've trained yourself to do what's necessary, not what's easy. That internal consistency gives birth to confidence because you no longer doubt your ability to take action. You know you'll show up regardless of the circumstances. You stop questioning your potential because your actions prove it daily. Confidence isn't built by thinking. You can't talk yourself into self-belief. It's built by doing. It's built by repetition, struggle, and perseverance. Discipline gives you that repetition, and with it comes unshakable confidence that no setback can destroy. People who rely on luck or inspiration often experience fragile confidence. They feel strong only when things go well, but their belief collapses when life hits back. Disciplined people are different. Their confidence is anchored in effort, not outcome. They've seen themselves push through tough times, so they don't crumble under pressure. They understand that they don't need everything to be perfect to make progress. They just need to stay consistent. That realization creates emotional stability. It keeps them calm when others panic because they know from experience that persistence always produces results in time. Every disciplined action you take is a deposit in the bank of self-confidence. Over time, those small deposits compound into unshakable inner power. You start walking into challenges with certainty instead of doubt. You start setting bigger goals because you trust yourself to achieve them. You stop comparing yourself to others because you realize your confidence comes from what you've earned, not what you've been given. The strongest form of confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. It simply knows. And that knowing is born from the daily practice of discipline, from showing up again and again until belief becomes second nature. Discipline is freedom because it gives you control over your life, your choices, and your destiny. Most people misunderstand this truth. They think freedom means doing whatever they want, whenever they want, but that kind of freedom often leads to chaos, regret, and limitation. Real freedom isn't about indulging your impulses. It's about mastering them. When you live without discipline, you become a slave to distraction, to comfort, to habits that steal your potential. You wake up tired because you stayed up late doing nothing meaningful. You spend money on things you don't need and feel trapped by debt. You avoid hard work and feel stuck in the same place. That isn't freedom. That's dependence disguised as liberty. Discipline, on the other hand, gives you power, the power to say no to what weakens you and yes to what strengthens you. It creates structure, and structure builds space for true growth. When you are disciplined, you no longer react to life. You direct it. You decide what your days look like, what habits shape you, and what outcomes you move toward. That is freedom. Discipline gives you the ability to control your time instead of being controlled by it. You wake up with purpose, not panic. You know where your energy is going instead of wasting it on random distractions. Every choice becomes intentional, and intentional living is the highest form of freedom there is. Freedom isn't the absence of rules, it's the presence of self-control. It's the ability to act according to your highest values rather than your momentary feelings. Discipline makes that possible because it trains your mind to think beyond impulse and to focus on what truly matters. The paradox of discipline is that what seemed restrictive at first becomes liberating in the long run. Waking up early, saving money, eating healthy, staying focused. These may look like limitations to someone who lives for instant gratification, but they're the keys that unlock freedom later. The disciplined person sacrifices temporary comfort for lasting fulfillment. They understand that every act of discipline today gives them more choices tomorrow. You work hard now so you don't have to struggle later. You invest your time in growth so you can live without regret. You build habits that give you control, not cravings that control you. Discipline may demand effort, but the reward is independence. Independence from fear, procrastination, and chaos. Freedom without discipline eventually becomes self-destruction. Think about it. People who chase comfort end up trapped by it. Those who eat whatever they want lose their health. Those who spend without restraint lose their peace. Those who avoid hard work lose their confidence. Lack of discipline always comes with a cost, even if it's delayed. Discipline, though challenging, pays dividends for a lifetime. It gives you the mental clarity to make better decisions and the emotional strength to handle life's unpredictability. You're not tossed around by circumstances because your habits keep you grounded. You no longer need to rely on luck or external validation. You trust your own consistency. That's real freedom, freedom from dependency, from chaos, and from fear. Discipline also brings freedom of mind. When you live a disciplined life, you eliminate the noise that clouds your focus. You stop wasting energy on guilt and regret because you're aligned with your purpose. You move through life with confidence because you know you're doing what needs to be done. You don't need to hide behind excuses or hope for miracles. You create your own momentum. Discipline replaces uncertainty with direction, confusion with clarity, and hesitation with confidence. That clarity is freedom. It allows you to live intentionally, not reactively. Every great leader, athlete, or creator understands this principle. Their discipline gives them choices others don't have. They can rest when they want, not when they have to. They can say no without guilt because they've earned the right to choose. They can handle challenges with grace because they've trained their minds to stay steady. Freedom is not granted, it's built. And the bricks that build it are discipline, commitment, and consistency. The moment you embrace discipline, you stop living in reaction to the world and start shaping your own. You stop being driven by impulse and start being driven by vision. That's when you realize that discipline was never the cage. It was the key. Discipline is a choice, and the power of that choice determines the direction of your life. Every day you are faced with two paths, the easy one that offers comfort and the hard one that offers growth. Discipline is the decision to choose growth even when it hurts, to keep moving forward even when it's inconvenient. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build through repetition, through doing what's right instead of what's easy. Many people wait for motivation, for inspiration, for some magical feeling that will push them to act. But the truth is, motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind. Discipline is different. Discipline is a decision, conscious, deliberate act of commitment that doesn't depend on emotion. You choose to act because you know what you want, not because you feel like it. Every person has the same 24 hours, but what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck is how they use those hours. Luck doesn't decide your future, your decisions do. Each disciplined choice compounds into strength, focus, and mastery. Every time you choose to show up instead of making excuses, you're shaping your identity. You're telling yourself, I am someone who follows through. Over time, that identity becomes unshakable. The power of discipline lies in its simplicity. You don't need the perfect plan or the perfect moment. You just need to decide over and over again that quitting is not an option. Discipline is not about what happens to you. It's about how you respond to what happens. The choice of discipline is a form of self-respect. It's a declaration that your goals, your future, and your growth are worth the effort. When you choose discipline, you take back control from distractions, from temptations, from the voice that says, it's okay to skip today. You become your own authority instead of letting your emotions run your life. You understand that progress doesn't require perfection, it requires persistence. The small daily choices to stay consistent matter far more than any burst of temporary motivation. Discipline isn't glamorous, it's quiet, repetitive, and often uncomfortable. But it's in that repetition that greatness is born. Every person faces moments of decision, moments that define who they are and who they will become. In those moments, luck plays no role, choice does. The disciplined person doesn't rely on external conditions. They create their own momentum. They don't wait for opportunities, they prepare for them. Life rewards those who act, not those who hope. The people who achieve extraordinary results aren't always the most talented or the most gifted. They're the ones who made the decision to keep going long after others stopped. That is the essence of discipline, the unwavering choice to keep showing up, to keep trying, to keep building even when no one is watching. Discipline gives you control over your destiny. It allows you to shape the narrative of your life instead of being a passive character in it. You stop waiting for luck, for help, or for the perfect conditions. You start realizing that everything you need to succeed is already within you. The strength, the focus, the drive. The only thing missing is the decision to use them consistently. Every time you make a disciplined choice, you step closer to the future you desire. Every time you give into comfort, you drift further away. It's not fate, it's decision by decision, moment by moment. The beauty of discipline is that it's always available. You don't need permission to start. You don't need resources or perfect timing. You just need to choose. You choose to wake up early. You choose to work when others rest. You choose to keep believing when results are invisible. And in those choices, you build power. Over time, that power becomes unstoppable. Discipline becomes who you are, not just what you do. It becomes a silent force that moves you forward, no matter how uncertain life feels. The moment you understand that discipline is your choice, not your circumstance, you realize that your destiny is no longer left to chance. It's in your hands, shaped by the strength of your daily decisions.